Good afternoon, America. Good morning, Australia, and welcome to everyone listening across the world. This is Radio Toni, A Conversation with Kez, and my gorgeous co-host, Kez Wickham St. George, will join us shortly. Just a quick reminder, if you're listening live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitch, we have the lovely Renee ready and waiting to respond to your questions, comments, and to send you live links of anything that we talk about, in particular, any of Amanda's books. Now, for those of you that want to catch up on shows that you've missed, don't forget to jump on to Binge TV Networks USA, Hero Go TV Networks USA, and the Toni TV channel app, available on all Roku, LG, and Samsung smart TVs across the world. Now, today's guest is Amanda Schubert, but I want to quickly tell you that Kez Wickham St. George is finalising her next book, and it will be released in about a month's time. I hope I've got that timing right. And we'll be talking to Kez about that in future shows. Today, though, we want to talk to Amanda, who is a co-author in the book Colours of Me. Now, Amanda was born and raised in the Riverland region of South Australia. She is a mother, author, children's book illustrator, and a school librarian. In 2019, she travelled to Ireland for a writer's retreat at Crom Castle. And we've heard little bits and pieces about this glorious retreat at Crom Castle from Kez and many of our other authors. And I do hope that Serenity Press does another one of these soon, because I want to go. Anyway, this moment in Crom Castle led to Amanda's dream of publishing her first novel, The Bards of Birchtree Hall, and she hasn't looked back since. Since then, she's had her novel included in the 2021 Hollywood Swag Bag honouring nominees Oscars weekend, landing in the hands of the award winners, including Sir Anthony Hopkins and Frances McDormand. Her book will be gifted to the 2021 Logie nominees in Australia. She's also begun editing her second novel in the Stormbringer Chronicles, and it will be released later this year. Her work is also featured in 2 anthologies. The first one, Sweet Delights by Gumnut Press, a romance short story, and The Colours of Me by Making Magic Happen Prince, and it's an inspiring true story. Now, when she's not writing, Amanda enjoys spending her time reading, drawing, creating memories with her husband and 2 children. Amanda is passionate about helping people uncover their true potential and is hoping to inspire others to believe in themselves and strive to achieve their dreams. Good morning, Kez. Good morning, Amanda.
Morning.
Good morning.
Lovely ladies, I'm going to hand over to my gorgeous co-host, Kez Wickham St. George, to start off the interview today. The floor is all yours, Kez.
Goodness, that's a big ask, because I know what Amanda does. I know her books are. My goodness. My goodness. Amanda, it's wonderful to see you again.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see you, my dear Kez.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And I never forget the laughter that we had in the castle. It was just magic. It was just magic.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
no,
it
never
really
forget.
was. Our little cups of tea and our little walks along the corridor and getting asked to leave rooms and going into other rooms.
Oh, yes. As in laughing till we cried and
yeah, it was, yeah. So I'd like to ask you, the first question is, what was the inspiration behind your story, How I Learned to Love My Shadow, in the newly launched book, Colours of Me? What's the feeling behind it?
Yeah, so the feeling behind that is obviously with the theme of Colours of Me, and sort of delving into sort of how like the women are incredible, and being counted amongst them is amazing. And so for me, it was very much a personal reflection on what it's taken for me to get to the point that I am. And when I was certainly younger, I've really struggled a lot with self-esteem and actually that belief in self and that confidence to know that I'm enough just being me. And that is still, still in my 30s. It's an ongoing issue, and I think it is for everybody at times. We still wonder why, or what our purpose is, and that self-belief to know why we're here. And so the inspiration for me and learning to love my shadow is how over the years I've come to accept that I'm probably never going to really fully see myself in the light that I am, but it's about embracing the wholeness of me, and that yes, there is some darkness in my past and there is some shadows there, but that's just exactly part of my story and what makes my story so unique to me, and you know, behind the colors of me, that those shadows are a part of me. They are part of my colors, and learning to actually take that and roll with it and use that to fuel where I'm going in the future.
Yeah, it's amazing when you look back and you think, I never see myself as other people see me. I never see that.
Exactly.
And I guess one day that will come to you as well. You will never see yourself as brilliant as what we all see you. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And of course, when I first met you, you were an artist. And
yes.
You had all your beautiful artwork at the castle with you. How on earth did you bring that along in all the suitcases, all your artwork?
I probably sacrificed a few pairs of shoes.
No.
I think I took in the end one pair of nice shoes and one pair of $10 sneakers for my walkabouts the forest, and that was nice. I need my artwork more than I need shoes. So
right. Oh well, decision made.
Absolutely.
Amanda, The Colours of Me is the anthology that we're talking about at the moment, and mainly because Kez is part of the team that collaborated and got Colours of Me together. What did it mean for you to be involved, and what was that process like for you?
Well, to be honest, I adore Kez and Michelle, and I count them amongst some of my dearest and greatest friends. So when they reached out to be part of this anthology, I immediately wanted to say yes. I thought, you know, what they're working on and their combination of energy and their love and spirit, I thought this is going to be something amazing. But I did initially wonder, what story could I tell that would be considered, like, as the likes of the other authors that are in there. I thought my story is nothing compared to theirs, and I suppose that was the moment I realized that's the story that I need to tell.
Yes.
When I started looking at myself and going, what do I have to offer? What's so special about me is the core of why they invited me. And so once I had that aha moment of, it's this doubt in myself and this feeling of I don't belong with these people that I need to write about, because I know countless others out there probably wonder as well, why me? You know, that whole, there's nothing special about me. I compared to other people, I've got nothing. And so for me to delve into that and just explore those feelings in my chapter is that belief that I've had that I wasn't good enough and that I'll never be good enough. And that's what I wanted to express in my own story. So the Colours of Me, for me, represented exploring that feeling of, why don't I feel good enough? Where has that come from? Where does that feeling exist within me? And that's, as I refer to it as my shadow side. That voice in my head that tells me, you can't write for this because you aren't good enough. You don't have a story to tell, or your story is not as important as somebody else's. And so that was probably the driving factor behind it and what it meant to me there.
Yeah. Amanda, you'll find it fascinating to know that I'd just been on an international call talking to a famous author called Rania Easter, who wrote the book The Chalice and the Blade. And so she was actually saying, she was actually talking about that very concept that you've just brought up, that part of why we're not moving forward in humanity is that we've subscribed to this idea that we are fundamentally bad when we are not fundamentally bad. And the idea that because we believe that we're fundamentally bad, we should succumb to control from people higher up than us. And it's so not true. We are uniquely, beautifully, amazingly wonderful human beings. So I thought it was interesting that there's so many people starting to have this conversation. You are not bad.
Absolutely.
You were never bad.
And that
And
sense
it's
of
wonderful
comparison.
that,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
it's
When we
wonderful
compare
that you
ourselves
brought
to
that up
another,
this
yeah.
morning, Amanda.
No,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, because it doesn't help us at all.
No.
No, it doesn't. You've got to have some sort of faith in yourself. So let me just assure you that when we invited authors
Yes.
to come into the book with us, we just didn't put a pin up against a few names. We selected who we thought had a beautiful story, and yours just fitted in beautifully. There was no doubt about that. I was when I learnt you were coming on the show this morning,
Yeah.
I reread your story, and I just thought, you're an amazing young woman. You've got so much to offer the world. You
No,
really
thank
have.
you.
I mean, everybody has, no matter what age, we've all got something
Absolutely.
to offer, no matter what
we
age.
do. Absolutely. As a
Yeah.
said, yeah. And
So-
like since, yeah.
So when you were invited and you said, who me? And I can hear your voice, and I can hear the jiggle behind it. You must have thought, as you said, you thought about what you could offer, but you offered something that was just so lovely. The book came up to number 4. We didn't get to number 1, but number 4 is a way to go. And if you can imagine the millions and thousands of books that get put on Amazon every day. So number 4 is quite substantial.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're in it. You're in the book.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah, absolutely. No, I said I know that we had some similar conversations, Kez, you and I, over at Crom Castle that probably instilled that. Because even back then, I had that feeling of, what am I doing here? Because I said being on that trip with, again, other published authors and sort of just really starting, that probably set the seeds of delving into, well, why do I feel this way? And why am I sort of afraid to succeed in a way? Like, what is it that's holding me back? And so I said, yeah, certainly thank you for that. And then obviously the invitation to be part of the anthology was just, said, yeah, it's really changed my mindset very much so.
Yeah. And it's not just one or two people. It would be everybody in Crom
yes.
that you met. They were all inspiring, all of them.
Oh, absolutely. I said I still count the Crom crew amongst my dearest friends. Absolutely.
Yeah, the Crom crew. I love that.
Crom crew.
Yeah.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah. Toni, what's your next
Amanda, you're a writer of fiction, and your last book, The Bards of Birchtree Hill, what a beautiful name for a book, The Bards of Birchtree Hall, was very popular. And I know that there's another book coming out soon. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Absolutely. So, The Bards of Birchtree Hall was my little project that I've been working on for many, many years. And to finally have it out in the world was fantastic. And we were talking about the Amazon list. It actually made it to number 2, just behind the Harry Potter box set. So we jumped over the illustrated Philosopher's Stone. So that was, I think I actually have that image framed somewhere in the house.
Yeah.
And so
yes,
it was sort of I sort of, when I finished writing it, I thought at the very least, you'd go out to friends and family and they'd enjoy it. So to know that it's reached the levels that it has is incredible. As it recently also just won an award with Literary Titan, a Gold Star Award. So with the second book coming out, it's so it's kind of skyrocketed, and as I said, less than 12 months later, it's still going really strong. So we're on the verge of releasing the sequel to that one, which is called The Vengeance of the Morrigan. So that's going to be, so we're opening that one for pre-orders on the 7th of October for release in November later this year. And just I see people down the street and they're still asking, when's the second book coming out? And I'm like, hey, it's not far now, I promise it's on its way. And just to see how excited everybody is, I suppose, for it. Like, they're just as excited as me for it to come out, which is it means the world to me, absolutely.
Amanda, how did you come up with the name Bards of Birchtree Hall?
So the concept of bards in my
Obviously, it
story,
relates to the story. Yeah,
Yes,
obviously
yeah.
it relates to the bards in the story, but
Yeah, so originally the working title for a very, very long time was called The Stormbringer. And that was sort of because that's the name of the lead character. And
yes,
I said for the longest time I was set on that being the title, but by the time I'd sort of reached sort of the end of the draft and we were into the process, I realized it's actually, I wanted that to be the name of the series. So the Stormbringer Chronicles,
yes,
that's where that emerged from.
yes,
So I thought I need
yes.
a new title
Okay.
for the first book in this story. And I realized that the first book is very much an introduction to the world of the bards and the magic of Birchtree Hall and
Yes.
so on. So I kind of just
Yeah.
came to the conclusion of the Bards of Birchtree Hall. It sort of summed up the story a lot better than just the Stormbringer. So yeah, so
Yes,
it's sort of
yeah.
a roundabout way of coming, and much the same with the second book. You know, the title that I started out with was not the title I'd ended up with. So
Strange that.
yeah, so you know, I know when I'm speaking to I do a lot of author talks at schools, and when I'm talking to
Yes.
children, I said sometimes we get so set on the title of something we forget about the story. So I keep the
Yeah.
mindset of, you know, that oftentimes the title comes last when we're writing, because
Yeah.
you don't know
Yes.
what the story is going to be till you finish it. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it evolves. It evolves
It
as you
does,
go along.
absolutely. And that's, as I said, very much the story of the Bards of Birchtree Hall. By the time I'd finished writing it, I realized the Stormbringer
Yes.
didn't encompass that story anymore. I needed a more
Something bigger.
a bigger, broader title for it. So absolutely.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Your journey from the beginning. So when we met in Crom, you were playing with the idea of a book, and
Yes,
you
I had
a
a
few
half-written first draft. Yep.
Yeah. So when you got back to home, and we all knew that you were going to do this, there was like this thing in the air. Let's watch Amanda go.
Yeah.
We were all published authors by then, but
Yes,
it was like we get so much pleasure out of watching someone that's new to the field grow, and you have just gone way up there in your growth. But it, you know, the feeling that is that when you got home and you thought, I can do this, and the words started
absolutely.
pouring out. What was that like?
Yeah, no, so I said so talking about packing my suitcase again, I made some space for my half-written first draft of my book, just because I thought I have this opportunity, as you said, Kez, to be amongst other published authors. I went with the intention of getting advice on what to do with my story. That was that was my goal by the end of it. It's like, what do I do to get this published? And so I said, exploring in the knowledge and the feedback from everybody that was over there. And the reaction that I got and the support that I got from everybody there was probably more than I'd anticipated. I thought, I just came here to learn, and everyone's going, you're going to do this. And I went, okay. And sort of got caught up in that, that vibe of, yes, I am going to do this. And so when I got home, all that, because I'd been umming and ahhing so much as we do about, will the story be good enough? Is it, you know, is it too similar to this story or too similar to that story? Is it unique? And all the what ifs that we ask ourselves when we're writing, that got removed, I suppose, in a way. That block that I'd had, through the discussions and the conversations that I had with everybody else, is your story's unique because you're writing it. And so once I had that mindset of going, actually, my story's unique because it's mine. Yes, there'll be elements that are similar to other stories, but it's my words. So once I sort of had that hurdle out the way, I found that the words, I got the rest of that. So that half-written first draft had taken me about 18 months to write. I got the whole thing finished in about 3 months.
Wow.
So, and then once I had that and I had been put in touch with Jennifer at Daisy Lane Publishing through one of the friends from Crom Castle, and to have sort of her respond that
a gorgeous human being.
Oh yeah, Jennifer, as I couldn't have fallen into the hands of anyone better. So it was certainly one of those kismet moments that was meant to be. And as she's been fantastic, and the work I know that she's putting in to the second book, I'm just sitting back going, you're incredible. What she's doing for me. And and then once I sort of had, I think, so we returned from Crom Castle mid-October, and I had my contract by April. So it was a very, very quick turnaround to go from, as I said, that half-written piece of work that I took with me to a full-fledged novel in editing by April of 2020. So,
Well done.
Do you edit your own work?
So in the first one, I actually did work with an editor in the UK, which was really fantastic, because one of the things that I sort of didn't consider, and it was a very small thing, but really just highlighted to me the role of an editor, is I'd use the word reckon in my story. So, you know, one of my characters reckoned this, and the UK editor pointed out they don't say that in the UK. That's a very Australian thing to say. And majority of the characters in my story, my main character is Australian, but the rest are all Irish. So she's like, they wouldn't say that. And I'm like, and it was just that moment of, yes, like just those little things that I said. So that sort of made me, I'd always been interested in proofreading and editing. I get a strange pleasure out of fixing mistakes in work. I love looking for spelling mistakes and grammar errors and things like that. So that sort of set me on the path of looking into that as another option. I have had the pleasure of working as an editor now on a couple of pieces and a proofreader for a fantastic story by Michelle Wiedering, the co-collaborator of that there. So certainly that's something I enjoy. And so with the second book, I did find myself doing a lot of my own editing and proofing, but I still had another editor look at it, because as we know, looking at your own work, we don't always, you know, you can't see the forest for the trees, you know. So I did do a lot of editing on my own book, but I did have another editor work with me on the second one for sure. And as I said, I'm very grateful to him. He's the type of editor that will just firmly but gently tell you this needs to go.
I'm glad you've got a polite editor, because I haven't got a polite editor. She rings me.
So my editor friend that I work with, my editor friend, what he does is he'll read it through and he'll send me, he'll say, like, he'll message me and say, I'm emailing you the edited copy now. He'll email it to me. And then he says, I'm going to ring you in 20 minutes, get some biscuits and a cup of tea and sit down. Because he's like, we're going to go through this step by step and I don't want you to cry, okay? So get your biscuits, get your tea, and let's go through this. And then we go through it together on the phone. So when he goes, where I've written this comment here about this is cringe, I didn't mean it that harshly. And so I just sit there and it's like, thank you, okay. So yeah, I have a wonderful friendship with my editor. We've known each other for going on 20 years now. So he knows me well enough to sort of, the iron fist in a velvet glove is probably how I'll describe his editing process. Oh,
nice. Yeah, nice. I must ask my editor to have an iron fist in a velvet glove, because no, that doesn't happen. She's Australian and she's really straight out there, and she says, this is nonsense.
Yes.
Ring word.
Yes, as I've had quite a few of those comments.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
So we've already discussed about how we met, but you know, how I met you, Amanda, was not actually at Crom, was it? It was at the airport.
The airport.
Yeah. And this voice came down the escalator. Is your name Kez? And I looked up and I just saw your face, because I was thinking to myself, see, this is where you most of me didn't see it, but I was thinking, what the hell am I doing here? Why am I here? Why am I here? I'm here to meet a whole lot of other authors and go to a retreat and say I've been to Crom Castle. I looked at your face and I just knew, I thought, you're thinking the same thing. Why are we here?
Yes, because I'd gotten to the airport, and sort of at that point I hadn't met sort of anybody else. I'd arrived the day before and I'd stayed overnight at a lovely little B&B called Donnybrook Hall, and got the taxi back to the airport to meet everybody. And I know we had a chat going with messages of when everyone was getting in, and I saw yours pop up, Kez, and I thought, oh, she's going to be the first one here. And I'm just standing at the airport going, there is literally nobody else here. I'm like, but there's someone coming. I know there's someone coming. She's getting off the plane in about 5 minutes, and I'm going to be there so that I'm not standing around the airport being a weirdo, just hanging out at the airport by myself. So I sort of found the gate where you were meant to be, and said, thought I'll just wait here. And I'd seen because I hadn't obviously met you prior, so all I had to go on was a little Facebook profile picture.
Yeah.
And I saw this lovely woman just float out of the doors, and I'm like, Kez? Hello? And then you smiled. I thought, I've got the right person. I'm not alone anymore.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was thinking the same thing as I came up the escalator. I was thinking, oh no, why am I here? I hope Amanda's there. I don't even know what you look like.
Yeah, exactly.
I had the same thing, profile picture, came up the escalator. I heard this little voice. I thought, oh, phew, thank you, Jesus, because I was, why am I here? Why no one turned up?
Oh, exactly. And then dragging our massive suitcases to the cafe, just going, all right, let's see who else rocks up now.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we did Michelle and Leah, which are twin sisters.
Yeah. Yes. Oh goodness. Yes. So
at Crom, or was it before Crom?
So Michelle and Leah. So I think there ended up being about 4 or 5 of us at the airport the day that we arrived, and taking the van to the, because we were staying at the cottages on the Crom ground. Right. So there were some staying up at the castle, some staying in the cottages, and oh my goodness, I'm never going to regret my choice to stay at the cottages, because when we arrived, we discovered that our cottage had been overtaken by these 2 beautiful balls of energy called Michelle and Leah, because they'd stayed there overnight before the rest of us arrived. And so we got to our cottage thinking, oh yeah, here we go, this is our cottage, and there's like, ta-da, hello. We're like, oh, hello. Who are you? And and so Michelle and Leah, as they gave us the biggest, warmest welcome, showed us around the cottage, showed us where everything was, and then they're like, all right, we're going up to the castle now, bye. That I think that first introduction with you, Kez, and then as I said, just the warmth and energy that came from Leah and Michelle at the cottage, I think really just set the tone of what we were in for that retreat. And I said, it was really, couldn't have had the better welcome to this retreat. I said, for day one being around that sort of energy and that sort of enthusiasm, I thought, yep, this is what I'm here for, and I'm 100% all in on this. I want to be a part of this.
So, it was it was just wonderful. It really was.
What a great introduction to the writing and author world, Amanda.
Yes. Oh goodness, I still I'm grateful every day that I landed in probably the best group of authors, and so that I probably could have, because there's a lot thrown around about finding your tribe and finding the people that you just click with, and I said every single author that was there at I haven't found any group similar to that. It was just from day dot, it was a bunch of friends hanging out in a castle together, and that was probably the best way to describe it, is we all just clicked immediately. And even once we returned back to Australia, sometimes you think you meet people while you're away and it's great, but you sort of lose contact and separate, which is quite a common thing. That has not been the case at all. Like I probably talked to the ladies from Crom, oh goodness, if not every day, then at least every 2 days. There's always someone from that trip messaging, checking in, or commenting on posts and just supporting each other. And I think that was probably the greatest thing that I took, is just that support that the women, that we all have for each other, and we're each other's biggest cheerleaders in every sense of the word. And so that's I sort of never experienced anything like it. At all. It's still, as I said, the magic of Crom is definitely something tangible, something real. So.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And imagine that since we've all come back. Since we've all come back, Amanda, we're all published authors.
Go, Kez.
We're all published authors, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely.
Since we've come back from Crom.
Yep.
All of us are published with MMH, which was the other. Karen McDormand was running the retreat, so we all went with MMH. None of us came back not writing, and we were the grounds of Crom were just inspiring, weren't they?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. As I said, we're building a new house at the moment. I've already got, I think, a dozen canvases planned. Just one wall is just going to be all these canvases of the Irish countryside and the castle. And
oh, how lovely! Yeah, Toni.
Amanda, When you're in the process of writing a book that is your own book, and then you've been offered this collaborative opportunity to be part of an anthology, what's your advice for aspiring authors to be? Should they take the step and be part of a collaboration such as an anthology like The Colours of Me?
Yeah, one of the quotes or inspirational words that I refer back to often, and actually led me to going to Crom in the first place, was when Richard Branson says, if someone gives you an opportunity, say yes and learn how to do it later. And that's
correct.
That's absolutely been my mindset for certainly the past couple of years. And it was the same when Crom ran up, because as I said, I wasn't a published author when this opportunity came up. But I put my name down because I thought I'm going to say yes to this opportunity because it's an opportunity that I know I need. And I figured it out on the way. And obviously the growth that I've had from that is incredible. So if anyone's ever sort of offered the opportunity, particularly to work with, if you're in the industry and, you know, wanting to learn more, say yes. I said, you know, always just say yes and learn how to do it later. You know, it's something that, I said, like, this was also, I said, my first sort of collaborative effort with other authors, and just being amongst the like-minded people and people who are in an industry that you want to be in, absorb everything you can, take on everything. I said, there'll be, you know, I said, we spoke briefly about the editing process, and yes, editing is hard. There's going to be feedback that's given. And it's about just learning that, you know, every bit of feedback is an opportunity for growth. And so
definitely,
I said, so for an author looking to collaborate with someone, I really think there is sort of nothing to lose, everything to gain from doing that. It's no matter what sort of happens with it, you have the opportunity to learn and to grow, and I said, just build your authorship. Because another thing about being an author is no matter what, you need to write. And so I said, I started out with fantasy fiction. I never imagined I'd be a short story writer, or certainly not a romance writer, and yet I did it. Again, I said yes to an opportunity, and that's now another genre that I can say I feel comfortable writing in, I want to write in. Writing an inspirational short story, as we spoke before, I didn't think my story was important or that it would fit in that book. But I said yes. And along the way, I've realized, you know what, my story is important, and I am going to share it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I said, any opportunity you have, just say yes. I said, sometimes it will work out, sometimes you don't. Anything that doesn't work out is a lesson. Anything that does is, you know, it's all an opportunity to grow. I said, but by saying yes, that's the first step. Everything that comes after that is as it is, you know, will be what it will be. So.
I agree.
Fantastic.
Totally agree. Saying yes. Got to say yes to everything. Well, not everything, but not everything. But
within boundaries. I mean,
we'll need to have that edited. Don't say yes to everything.
Said no. It's definitely in. Like, I'm a big one on intuition and gut feeling, and so that you know that something is where you're meant to be or what you're meant to be doing. Go with it, I said, because it's you can, you know, trusting in yourself and trusting in the process is probably the biggest thing that you're going to do. And like I said, you don't have to say yes to everything. If it feels like it's not for you, say no and walk away, because that's you know, that's meant for somebody else.
So how closely did you work with the two authors that compiled the book? Did you work closely with them, Amanda?
No, I think I had an absolute ball working with Michelle and Kez. As I said, like, working with two authors who not only, as it like a completely professional capacity, and they were very wonderful in the way they handled everything as well, but being able to have the added bonus, I suppose, of them being my friends, made the whole process just so seamless and relaxing. And I said, I knew that, you know, if I had any questions or any sort of not sure about this, that I could just flick them a message and they'd get back to me straight away, and with encouragement and support. And yeah, no, it was absolutely adored the entire process. I adored the two ladies, full stop. But yeah, being able to, I suppose, work with them in a professional capacity as well, instead of just the wonderful social chit chat that we enjoy.
Yeah.
No, as I said, it was sort of being able to, put on our professional hats for a moment, and go, all right, we love each other as people. Now let's get this happening. And what can we do to make this book the best that it can be? So that was definitely an important part of the process.
Yeah. Have you had any sort of launch over there yet for the book?
I haven't. I said my post at the moment is everywhere. So as soon as I get my copies, I am planning on doing something here, probably with a few friends and things, getting together. We're, as I said, lucky enough here that I can have a social gathering of some sort. So I will be certainly doing something with some friends of mine here. I know that there's quite a few people already I've spoken to who want a copy. So I said absolutely.
Great.
Amanda, I'm a little curious in looking at the the numbers of bodies of work that you've got. So you've got the anthology, and you've got the fiction book. Is there anything, so the Bards of Birchtree Hill and now the sequel, is there anything that you'd change, or are you completely happy? I'm asking as from an author's point of view, because like even with my own book, you've got to let it go at some point. And I know that there's probably parts of that could have been a bit better, but you can't just keep editing and changing and editing and changing.
Yes.
So is there anything that you would change?
I suppose with the first one, as it being stuck in that mindset of I had edited and rehashed that story so that's why I'd sort of gotten halfway through it and come to a standstill, because I was so focused on my perfectionism came to a head there. And I kept I'd write another chapter and then go back to the start and edit that, and then I'd write another chapter and go back to the start so the first half of that book had been ironed within an inch of its life before I'd even finished it.
Yes.
So so for me, sort of putting all that in, and then obviously it got sent to the editor, who changed quite a bit of that first half.
Did it again.
We went over I'm just like, so I spent 18 months just perfecting, or in my mind, this first chapter, only to be told we need to scrap like half of it. So that was I'm like, okay. So while I suppose I wouldn't change the story so much, I certainly have changed my process. And so writing the second book, I do split into, so the first book is written in the point of view of the main protagonist, of Neela. The second book we actually split into multiple point of view. So every chapter we dive into a different character in there. So it was sort of a very different beast in the first place. But I sort of let go of that need to have it perfect the first time through. And that was, as I said, so my writing process changed, and in that it sort of changed, I suppose, the story, that I just went with the flow a lot more. I didn't try and sort of control the story so much. So the second book is certainly an evolution from the first one. In that there, so I said, I'm still quite happy with the story of the first one, but I really have changed probably my style as a writer and my writing process. Because I spent so much time perfecting the first chapter.
I know.
And so
I know.
And so I really sort of, I suppose, relaxed my storytelling a bit and thought, a first draft is exactly that. And it finally made sense what people had told me. The first draft is always terrible.
Yes.
Like, no, my first draft is going to be amazing.
It's going to be perfect.
It's going to be perfect.
Says every first-time author ever.
Exactly. It's like, no, my first draft is, that's how it's
it's going to be perfect.
Nothing wrong with it.
No.
Give it to the editor and get it handed back and go, grab the tea and biscuits, we're in for a ride. So
yeah, it does happen. Yeah,
it does. So so I absolutely. So now I
think...
absolutely had the mindset of nope, the first draft, let's just words on paper, hand it to the editor and go, all right, hit me, tea and biscuits in hand. I know it's crap. Let's point out how we can improve it. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And
that's part of what creates... That's part of what creates an amazing fictional story, isn't it? Is those reiterations and that combination and collaboration between the writer and the editor. And you actually have to have a pretty close relationship with your editor, because you're trusting your words and your thoughts and your vision for that story. You're trusting them with that. And so sometimes that doesn't go smoothly for everyone. I know some people that have been through multiple editors until they found the one that worked best and most collaboratively with them. Because the editor, they're invested in your story as well. They need to be invested in the success of your story, and they should be on your side to bring out your writing skill and create something that's just amazing to read.
Oh, absolutely. And that's, I feel very, very lucky, I said, with my editor, having been friends prior to him sort of becoming my editor. We know each other, and I know he writes in a very similar style and actually works a lot with the style that I'm trying to write, but he also knows me. And so he understands my voice and sort of works to enhance that, not change it. And having worked now as an editor myself is knowing that we're not giving somebody else our voice as an editor. We're making their voice the best it can be. And certainly I said, yeah, absolutely. So that editor-author relationship, I think, is something that probably underestimated sometimes, and particularly for new authors, you don't sort of realize exactly the impact that an editor can have on your work, and how important the editing process is.
Absolutely. You must have an editor. If you think that you can write to any standard without editing and without an editor, you're misinformed, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. And because when you write a book, like it really, it's like a child. You can't have favorites. You think this is perfection in all its forms, and there's nothing wrong with it. And what are you talking about? My story is fantastic. So having that neutral kind of editor who comes in, takes the rose-colored glasses off and goes, actually, have you seen that this doesn't work with the rest of the story? And be able to go, no, actually, sort of take the emotional investment out of it and sort of look at it logically a lot of times, and sort of take that because we get so personally attached to our stories. Like it's a thing. You write from the heart. It is a piece of your soul that goes out into the world. So we can't always see the flaws because we choose not to. We go, no. Maybe that's a bit wordy, but it fits with the rest of the story. It's fine. Yeah. But to have that person come in and gently but firmly say, look, this bit, it's lovely, but it interrupts the flow of the story, or to put something out like that. It's absolutely.
So we need to chop it all out.
Yeah, just like I said. And so we're going to delete
chopping it all out.
3 paragraphs. Just throw them away. Hit delete.
And you go, oh no, that was a powerful bit of writing. But it is, isn't it? It's like it's
on that paragraph.
Yes.
That's going to be quoted by people for generations.
Those words will never be seen.
They were going to go on a mug.
That's it. It's actually it's a very learning experience, isn't it, Amanda? That
absolutely
you learn to I don't like using the word toughen up. You just learn a bit more to go a bit more gently on yourself and not expect perfection, because that's not the end game.
Exactly. It really helps you to understand the separation. So when you're writing, write with all your heart and soul. When you're editing, you edit with your brain.
Don't.
It's so when you're in editing, you need to shut down that emotional attachment you have to your words and look at it as neutrally as you can. And so it really sort of helps to establish that while we're in the writing process, you have to write with heart and soul. Like you have to put everything that comes into your head.
Definitely.
But certainly when you come to I think there's another quote that I love. It's like, write without fear, edit without mercy. And it's certainly, that's absolutely what I've learned is, so, write without fear, write down everything, pour it out of you and through the keyboard, through the pen, whatever you're writing with. But when it comes to editing, you need to be harsh. You need to sort of sit down and go, is this actually necessary? It means a lot to me, but is it necessary for the reader?
Exactly.
To have that in there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I agree. So, Amanda, looking back on the experience of collaborating into a story, would you do it again, or would you collaborate, or would you co-author?
I'd certainly open to collaboration. I love working with a team, like, as I said. So writing my own books is fantastic, but being able to work with somebody else to share in that moment when the book comes out and all the stories come together, there's nothing comparable to that either. Co-authoring is certainly something I'd be interested to find out more about. It's certainly an experience that I'd like to look into, and sort of having that difference to collaboration. So it doesn't seem like there'd be much difference between collaboration and co-author, but co-author almost has a deeper level of responsibility, I
certainly
suppose.
Does.
So collaboration, there's a responsibility to do a good story, but you're sort of, you're handing it over to yourself and Michelle Kez when we did that. At the end of the day, you guys were in control of that book. So being in the co-author position is certainly something that like I said, I'd say yes to if the opportunity arose. And just sort of take that next level of ownership over a collaborative anthology as such as that would be definitely a worthwhile experience. I think so just another opportunity to grow. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the way the world's going now, everyone is doing. They've seen how popular that it can be. I mean, especially in Perth, I think there was 4 or 5 of my writing friends all put something in. But when we got into a group and we talked about co-author, and apart from myself, who understood what co-author was about, they went very quiet, because they said, but this is even more of a responsibility.
Yes.
Because with a collaboration, it was, well, you've got the story, you've got your 350 or whatever it was words, or 3,000 words, and they just carried on, and Michelle and I did the rest, and we got it edited, professionally edited, but we did the rest for you. But when it came to being a co-author, they shut down, and they said this is a big responsibility, because it meant that they had to take care of their own work.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And I mean, being an author of a standard of my own series, I'm responsible for what goes out, but there's that degree there. But being a co-author, particularly on an anthology, you're responsible for your words. You're responsible for the words of everybody who has trusted you with their words. So it's not just you writing and putting it in as a collaborator. Just I trusted you and Michelle with my words, with my story, and so having that sense of responsibility would be, I said, challenging, but so rewarding at the same time, I imagine.
When I approached these ladies about co-authoring, it was like three ladies all write on the same subject, and we all merged the story. That's what I was looking for. But to actually watch them become quite stilted, because they're not authors of big. They write novelettes and they write for magazines, and it was watching this is even more serious and because once you become an author, you get introduced to so many different ways of putting your book out there, like radio Toni. You can put it out that way. You can put it out through any radio. You can advertise. There's so many ways of getting yourself seen out there, and you're asked to present your work in so many different ways. But most of it's quite lighthearted until you meet some really serious writers, and then you think, oh, this is a bit hard. Yeah, this is a little bit hard for me. But it's not. As you said, say yes to everything. I've been asked to co-author a book, and it was like my first question was, and the next question was, what's it about? Yeah. So, yeah, I just wanted to hear your ideas on the two different concepts.
Yeah. Yep.
Amanda, I know that you're really passionate about self-care and self-love because that's part of the journey that you've been on, and I absolutely agree with you. If you can't look after yourself first and care for yourself first, there's a consequence for that. How do you encourage women to practice self-love, Amanda?
I suppose what I've learned over the time is actually just honoring that every feeling is valid. And so we have that expectation, I suppose, to feel like we always have our life together, that we always, that we're on top of things. And, particularly as like a working mother, I feel that pressure of, if I go down the street with my kids, I have to look like my life is under control.
Yes. As we all do.
Yes.
We had that pep talk with the kids in the car. So, all right, kids, when we go into the shop, there is no this, no that, no that. We are going to look normal. We are going to behave. My kids and I, we actually refer to it. We're going to put on our people suits now. We can't let our weirdness show. It's like, we are normal people. All right, team, let's go. And so, to have that expectation sometimes feel like we do have to mask what's actually happening. And I know I'm chronic for it. I do it so often. And particularly like in the work that I do, like working with children in the library, I have to give my best of myself to those kids every day. They deserve the best that I have to offer them. And so being out, like knowing that I need to, I might be having a difficult week. I might be having a tough week. I do struggle a lot with anxiety and some other mental health problems. So if I'm having a rough time, I know that for that time when I'm with those kids, that I need to be the very best that I can give them. And I do. Like, that they get the best of me regardless of what is happening. But afterwards, when I'm back home, I know that I need to process I put that off for the 3 hours that I'm at school, and I need to honor what I've been hiding. I need to actually
give yourself,
exactly. And so being able to put on that front is important. But also acknowledging that once that's done, take the time to process. Don't just keep shoving it down, because when you keep shoving it down, and this is, I said, my own personal experience with it, it comes out when you least expect it. Like, I might be grumpy with my own children. I might, just suddenly flip out and burst into tears at tea time. And I wonder what on earth happened? Where has this come from? And I realized it's because I was squashing everything down. It's like a volcano. The more you push it down, the pressure builds, it will explode. So taking that time to actually go, no, I know that I'm having a tough time, and it's perfectly okay to want to shut down for a bit, to take that time and said, find that support if you can, to just lock yourself away for an hour, 2 hours, however long you need, and just honor yourself and your feelings and go, I am feeling sad today, and I'm allowed to be sad. Allow yourself to feel sad, because and I said, like, working with children it's taught me so much as well, because if they're sad they cry. They don't care who's looking. If they're sad, they cry. And if they're angry, they yell, and they get it out, and then they can just bounce back. And but they're resilient, and we don't, because we go, no, I can't cry. I can't let this out. And we bottle it down, and we bottle it down until it comes out one way or another. And so I said, being the adult, sometimes there are times where we do have to hold it back as best we can. But it's about going, it's not trying to
definitely,
it's not trying to remove it, it's not trying to ignore it, it's putting a pause on it and going, no, later tonight I'm going to watch a sad movie and I'm going to cry, or
have a
later
cry
today, exactly, that later today, like, in a way, and certainly I think for people who may feel like acknowledging the emotions means losing control, schedule time in your diary. you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right, 5 p.m. tonight, I'm going to go lock myself away. I'm going to put on something that I know makes me. And actually, you know, there's only so much control you can have over emotions and feelings and self-care. And I think in many ways that we try to paint this picture of how together we are by not showing any of those
when
emotions.
We don't have to.
You don't have to. I said, you know, being together sometimes, like I'm a chronic crier. Like I cry happy tears, I cry sad tears, I cry when I'm frustrated.
Now that I know that.
Yes. And I explain to my children, like, because they'll see me crying sometimes and be like, you know, Mum, what's wrong? And I said, well, you know, sometimes when we have feelings, our body fills up so much with feelings that they have to leak out, you know. And so my feelings are full, and so they're leaking out my eyes. It might be happy feelings, it might be sad, but when my feelings get too much, they leak out of my eyes. And so I figure that's what I'm teaching them, that you know, showing emotion isn't about, you know, being weak. It's actually that strength to go, I'm full now and I'm leaking out my emotions. You know, like here they come, and then it's just refreshing.
Amanda, we are completely out of time. Kez, thank you so much. Amanda, what a delightful conversation to have. Congratulations on the success of the book and inclusion in the Colours of Me, the anthology. Guys, we will be back next week with another conversation with Kez. Thank you to my beautiful co-host, Kez Wickham St. George, and to Amanda Schubert. Don't forget to go out and buy the book, The Bards of Birchtree Hall. And that, my wonderful listeners, is your lot for this week, and we'll be back next week. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Kez. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.